advisory committee, to start getting your advisory committee involved,
Okay.
is to say, we're starting this process, and could you help us with it? And I
Okay.
will, next week when I send notes from this meeting and things like that, I will also send that document of possible questions to ask.
Excellent. Thank you. Yes.
Um, and then, you can take a look at them. Um, and I will send you I can send you a lengthier list that sort of separates out questions you might want to ask, say, of local stakeholders, folks right
Okay.
there where the museum is, things you might want to ask advisory committees so
Excellent.
that you
Thank you.
can look at that. And, you know, it is just, they are questions that are meant to get to how people outside of the museum view the museum.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things, and we can talk about this later, is that sometimes this external assessment can be a bit difficult, um, in terms of what you hear. Because folks who are very involved with an organization, as I said earlier, know what's going on and you are passionate about it. And it is not uncommon, for folks who are not sort of boots on the ground with the organization, um, to say, we actually don't know about you. But for the inside the information organization, for folks to say, oh yeah, we get that information out, or something like that. So it really is something that is meant to help you to take into consideration, areas where you could improve. And once you do that and once you settle on the questions and we start getting that information back, then we can kind of talk through it. But I do like to warn people, that at first sometimes you see something and you think, oh, but we do it. And then the thing to think about is you may be doing it, but you may not be
But
communicating that you're doing
yeah.
it,
Mm-hmm.
and things like that. So, you have that timeline to take a look at and work on. And then I did want to, do you have any questions about the timeline at this point? I apologize for bit bopping right along. Also, if I'm talking too loud or shouting, let me know.
It's right. Too loud. It's just right.
Okay, okay. I have a teacher voice in person that I use, and sometimes I worry that I start.
Can you turn it It's up all the way. It'll go. Oh, can you turn yourself up? You need to
I
use that teacher voice.
I can. Is this better?
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
All right. All right. So if there aren't any questions about the timeline, we'll move along. But as always, you can email me questions about the timeline. I'm happy to answer them after you have some time to look at it and think about it and start working on it, as the planning committee. So now one of the things to think about, or to discuss before we start looking at, the SWOT and things like that, is your mission. So what is the mission?
So my question is, Dr. T and Carol, do either of you have that? Was that in the documents?
Missions.
We have one here. Okay. Do you want me to read it
Yeah,
then? Okay.
yeah.
The mission of the Quilters Hall of Fame is to celebrate quilting as an art form by honoring the lives and accomplishments of those people who have made outstanding contributions to the world of quilting. By restoration and preservation of the home of quilt designer Marie D. Webster in Marion, Indiana, by promoting educational programs, exhibitions, publications, and research, and by collecting, preserving, and documenting materials related to the honorees of the Quilters Hall of Fame.
And if you need a hard copy to look at, it's on the website.
I can send it out to you too, if that would be easier.
All right. So at hearing that, what do you think about your mission? What are your first thoughts?
My first thought is I have used it over the years to help decide what to do, what not to do, what to focus on. But from others, I've heard it's too long. It's too drawn out and it needs to be shortened up. But I have always appreciated the detail in it to help guide me. But perhaps that's what I need just to keep at my desk, and we come up with something a little shorter, a little snappier that we use for the public. Just my thoughts.
Yeah, I kind of have the same feeling because everything in it really speaks to what we do.
Mhm.
And especially the opening statement of it, of, trying to make it better known that we are celebrating it as an art form. That is eye-opening to a lot of people, oddly enough. But everything in here is relevant to what we do. But I'm all for getting a quicker, more condensed one for public use.
Maybe I was gonna say.
The
maybe
only
we
thing-
Get that. Go ahead.
The only thing that I saw that might be redundant is at the very end, you say to collect the materials from the people you celebrate. Probably at the beginning, when you say that you're celebrating those quilters, you might say celebrate those quilters and collect and their collection. You know
Well,
what I
at the
mean?
beginning, we say to celebrate quilting as an art
Art
form.
form.
We don't
No.
say.
Right after that.
By
Right.
honoring the lives.
Oh, yes, by honoring the lives and accomplishments of those who have made outstanding contributions to the world of quilting.
And then at the very end, Barb, I don't have it in front of me. I just kind of took notes really quickly.
Mm.
Do you say at the very end that you're collecting materials from them?
Yes.
Yes.
So that's the only thing I see is like if you took that part and add and their collections.
Oh,
Yeah. I see what you're
Because
saying that we could even
everything else
mention
seems to stand out as really important points that are different. But that part, if you're going to collect the materials from those people you're honoring, that part could probably be put up at the top where you say you're honoring them.
I see what you're
Mhm.
saying, and I think you have a very good point.
It's interesting that you clarified that because if our mission is just to collect and preserve quilts made by the honorees, that seems limiting to me. I thought our collection was broader than that. It's not, so your collection is only honorees
Mhm.
quilts.
Yep.
Oh, we have room.
Out of necessity.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
We do have an education collection,
Mhm.
which is kind of vast because of Arnold Savage. He's not a Monterey. We got like 60 some quilts of his.
Right. And I thought that would then go under just stay under your promoting your ed programs, your materials, and your research.
Mhm.
Yeah. But that's the only one that we really
Mhm.
collect, other
Mhm.
than Earth Band, other than honorees.
So
Okay.
our permanent collection is honorees only.
Okay.
The education are items that we can take out and use and
Mhm.
loan out without worrying about them being part of our permanent collection.
Mhm.
So, yeah.
Any other thoughts or questions about the mission?
So Tamara, I'd be curious to hear your perspective because you've done this. And so would you agree that it is too long?
So, a lot of organizations have a mission that is more formal sounding, and that mission tends to be longer. One of the things or one of the changes over time in a mission has been that very often missions have been sort of what yours is, and I paraphrased it. So, um, with sort of bullet points of tasks. And so, one of the things to think about is instead of in a mission statement, sort of doing that list of bullet point activities that you do, what is your overarching mission? So, to take kind of those specifics and move them up or move them away from the mission and think, what do all of these things have in common in the mission? So a lot of times when you think of a mission statement, it says who you are, what you do, who you do it for, and how you do it. So in a lot of ways, yours ticks all of those boxes. But one of the things to think about is there a way to still say all of that without sort of having a mission statement that seems like a list of bullet pointed activities. Um, it does, your mission statement needs to fit you though. And so one of the things too, um, the Indiana Historical Society has a long mission statement. We also have a couple of taglines that we use that we look at that encapsulate our mission. One of them is what you've seen on when I wear the bright blue shirt. It says, "We do history." That is one of our taglines. And that was created so that in marketing, when we're talking to people, actually you may see some of our marketing that says, "We do local history," like our county historians. That's what it says on their bags. We do everyone's history, and that may be for some of our collecting initiatives. Um, the other thing that we use a lot is that we are Indiana's storyteller. The mission of the Indiana Historical Society is to collect, preserve, and educate about the history of Indiana and the Old Northwest Territory. And that's a paraphrase. But then our taglines kind of do the active part of it. So, how do we do that? We do that by actually doing the work of history. We do that by being Indiana's storyteller. So, sometimes what organizations do is look at that longer mission statement and then develop sort of a short form of it, or do what the Indiana Historical Society has done by creating kind of those taglines. I would say as you were reading it though, one of the things that struck me, and Dr. Dickerson, you heard it too. You start out with Hall of Fame, and then you end up with Hall of Fame, and you have the other stuff in the middle. So in part, I was looking at it and I was thinking, your name is the Quilters Hall of Fame. Um, you know, so you do have those things that you do that completely match your name, your collections do, and things like that. But then you also have the restoring and preserving the home, which is not,
Mhm.
it houses the Quilters Hall of Fame, but it is not in and of itself a Hall of
I
Fame.
was thinking the same thing, that was maybe appropriate when it was written, but that's because that was a main goal then.
Mhm.
Um, the Hall of Fame is greater than the building that's housed in.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And so the other thing that kind of stuck out to me is, promoting educational programs, publications, research, kind of getting to that importance of quilting. That also is is not centered on just Hall of Fame. So
Uh-huh.
because that that has to do with quilting in general, and perhaps has to do with types of quilting that the Hall of Fame, your Hall of Famers haven't done, that future Hall of Famers may
Right.
do. So there's a little bit in your mission statement. It's good information. It gives you good guidelines, but it is a little bit back and forth. So as the Quilters Hall of Fame, one of the things to think about is um, you are the Hall of Fame, but you also have kind of that museum aspect of education and research that is is connected to the Hall of Fame because that's what your collection is, but is also broader than the Hall of Fame. And so I am not saying that you need to change your mission now. You may, by the end of the strategic planning process, have some ideas about how to change your mission statement. But right now, it's just something to keep in mind as we go into the strategic, or as we continue with the strategic planning process. Your mission is Hall of Fame. Your mission is the house, the historic site, which is what that is. Um, and the programs, publications, research, the education about quilts and quilting that you provide. So those are the three sort of prongs of what you do as an organization. And so there may be some things about that you want to refine, you want to change as we move forward in the process.
Tamara,
Yes.
earlier you went through a who, what, where, why. Can you repeat those again?
Yes. Who you are, what you do, who you do it for, and and why you do it.
Okay.
Mission statements are notoriously tricky, by the way. So for example, I know of an organization that has a mission statement that starts out with and we believe in the power of the individual to create change. As an organization, we do this. So it's sort of a vision statement or a value statement with a mission statement. Um, you know, um, as the Quilters Hall of Fame, what do you believe in? What is a value? And you can look at that value and say, this is something that we strongly believe in. And in our conversations, in my conversations with the Quilters Hall of Fame over the years, one of the things that clearly stands out to me all the time is your passion for quilting as an art form, your passion for quilting as a history, your passion for quilting as something that can communicate and make change. That comes up over and over again when I talk to you, that it is not just here's a quilt, it's a 9 patch, here's all of that information, hand quilted, machine quilt, all of those like very, very physical characteristics of a quilt. Every time I talk to all of you, it goes so much deeper than that. It goes to quilt as having power, to communicate, to connect people. That keeps coming through. So maybe as you want to engage more people, as you want to broaden your reach, that may be something that you want to think about as part of your mission statement. Something about the power of quilting and the importance of quilting other than just keeping us warm and being pretty on our walls. So those are some things to think about when you look at your mission statement. How would you, if that is something that you want to look at, how as organizational values, then how would you communicate that in a mission statement? Um, and that doesn't mean if you do change the statement, it doesn't mean that your current mission statement wouldn't also function as those guidelines.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, you're still going to celebrate um, the Hall of Famers. You're still going to celebrate quilting as an art form. And to do that, one of the ways you do that is with the Hall of Fame. So, questions, thoughts, more discussion?
I think you gave us a lot to think about.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, I think one of the things that might help is if you were to say kind of like we do blah 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 by, and then the by is the bullet points.
Yes,
Yeah, kind of like that.
that is a very good point, Dr. Dickerson. You know, is to say, is that idea. We do this by doing this. Um, and then, you know, that is one of those things you may look at later and you may say, you know, we want to combine those or something like this. So your mission statement throughout this process is something you're going to refer to. It's something that we're going to keep at the core of the process because you've all agreed these are things you do and these are things that are important to do. But you may decide at the end of the process it's going to look a little bit different.
Mm-hmm.
Or you may decide that it's not, and that is good too. That is fine too. And I don't mean fine in the way that my husband says fine. Well, I get that's fine.
That's fine.
That's fine.
I love the tagline idea because when we go to, for instance, a local guild and give a presentation, we're different than when we go to the American Quilt Study Group for a research seminar.
Mm-hmm.
And so we could have different taglines for different situations.
Yeah, and one thing I've thought about is rebranding at some point as we're going through this, that might be something to keep in our minds about if that's something we want to do and roll out at the end of this. Or you know,
Mm-hmm.
so tagline rebranding that could all play nicely together.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I want to steal
Yeah.
theirs.
I know. Yeah, can we steal yours?
We do quilting.
We
So
do.
at
We do quilts.
um
We do quilt history.
when we rebranded to do we had been going by all the time Indiana Storyteller. When we rebranded to do we do history, there was a lot of emotional attachment internally to Indiana Storyteller. We were like, but we talk to people about telling stories. We talk to people about sharing their stories. And so that's why there are both of them, because it still is important. And actually, in our strategic plan, one of our objectives, our strategic goals, is to be Indiana's storyteller.
Mhm.
And then here are the ways that we do that, that we accomplish that part of our plan. Um, but I think some folks were surprised at how attached staff and volunteers and members and folks like that were to the Indiana storyteller. Um, you know, and so we actually use both. We do history, though, is not an objective. We are Indiana's storyteller, And one of the ways we accomplish that is to do XYZ history.
One other thought I had in looking at this is the idea statement below. I think has some thoughts to consider, whether it be part of an additional document or a vision or a rebranding, and a couple statements in here that are not repeated in the above mission. One is the art of quilting has no racial, social, ethnic, gender, or intellectual boundaries. And then the other one is the very last phrase, reflect the world and the people we serve. Those two thoughts really struck me. I think those were that's your writing, basically. Yeah.
Those are strong statements, though.
Yeah.
I think,
Those are very strong value statements
I like the one about
for the organization.
Has no boundaries.
No boundaries.
yeah.
No
Yeah, because
social,
a lot of
ethnic,
people think you're grandma.
political. Yeah.
Well, they do.
I know they
mean,
do.
if they don't know a lot about quilting, and I think it's good to include everybody that makes quilts.
Not just grandmas.
Not
How about
just-
that as our tagline?
Yeah.
Not just.
Not just grandmas.
Not
I
just
mean,
the grandma's quilt.
That does, those two statements, especially the first one you read, are very, very strong value statements. And they get to that idea that for you as an organization, quilts are inclusive. In so this is what I'm going to say about that value statement, which, by the way, I like very much, because I do think, I have been places where at this point people think the only quilting that happens is by the Amish.
Yeah.
Um, like there's what other quilts are there? The Amish or like home crafters or something like that. Um, so I would say if that is something that you're going to think about and move forward with as a value statement, then when your mission had a couple of sentences that focus on Hall of Fame, that can seem like a bit of a disconnect. And I'm not saying that, it's just something to think about. So I think one of the things you'd want to do if you're looking at those two statements as value statements, how do the Hall of Famers fit in with that? How does the Hall of Fame um um sort of help you put your money where your values mouth is? And that is something to think about. And one of the ways to do that, say in your strategic planning process, if you choose to embrace that first value statement, then what you may want to do in your strategic plan objectives is say, how are we going to make sure that the Hall of Fame reflects that value statement?
Yeah.
And things like that. So, I really think that one of the things, because you were a very thoughtful group that is working on the strategic plan, um, you know, looking at, and I wish all of the organizations that I worked with, um, saw the connections the way that you are seeing the connections. Because I think what that will do is really create a very rich strategic plan for you. So one of the things then to do as we move forward is keep your mission in mind and keep those value statements, because from my perspective, I saw quite a bit of nodding and some aha. Um, you know, so think about those things as we move forward. Other thoughts or questions about mission? Okay. Are you ready to move it to dig into your SWOT? Do we need to take a little bit of a break?
No, I'm good.
Okay.
Anybody need a break?
Not yet.
Not yet. Good
Okay.
at home? Okay.
All right.
This coffee.
Do you need one, Tamara?
No, I'm good. I'm good. I
Okay.
tend to forget to think about a break because I just get so excited. All right, so I am going to share my screen in just a minute. I thought I had it set up so that I would be sharing what I wanted to share, but apparently not. Okay, so these are the notes that I created. I took what you had said about the SWOT, refined some of them, and then created another document. Because as I was looking at this, at your SWOT and the comments that you had made, one of the things that occurred to me as I was looking at it was that um, you could lump or you could sort of gather up your statements into some broad areas. One wasn't, I looked and you talked about engagement, and that's how you're going to interact with the communities you served. There were strong education components in here. Um, Collections and organizational sustainability with a smidgen of funding. But the four areas that really you talked about and you made comments that would fit into this um, were um, engagement, education, collections, and sustainability. So when you look at this document, um, the yellow, the things that I put in here are yellow were under the weakness and threats. The things that are not highlighted in yellow were strengths and opportunities that you identified. And then what I did was take those broader categories and sort of do subcategories based on what you had said. So engagement, we have outreach, partnerships, and Hall of Fame. Um, do those feel like some of your major areas of engagement? And is this big enough for y'all to see?
We have it in front of
have
us.
it in front of us.
Okay. Okay.
Otherwise it wouldn't.
No.
I spent a lot of time with my family in Kentucky last week, so my y'all game is particularly strong.
Fun.
All right. Are you ready to do some digging in?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. So when you look at, and I'm going to look at the Hall of Fame, okay? That section under engagement. You have 58 inductees. You felt like they really have a good breadth and depth of talent. Um, they are a way, there are opportunities for involvement, asking them for support. Um, maybe there's a way of giving talking points to them. And maybe they are a group that you can reach out and say what are some ideas you have for us? What are some needs that you see? So you identified as weaknesses and threats that you're missing evidence of work, um, and that impacts your ability to tell the stories through exhibits. You also identified that there are ways that you could do that. You could contact honorees for objects, have more clear communications. So when you look at those strengths and opportunities you've identified, you already kind of brainstormed some ways to use or ways to mitigate your threats and strengthen your weaknesses. But what are some other ways? Take a look at those strengths and opportunities. Are there other ways that you can leverage the Hall of Fame and your inductees and their work to help with outreach?
I'm not clear what you're asking, Tamara. Are you,
Sure.
because I'm going back and forth between the part of the document that has the highlights and then the other part that has just
The
first,
boxes.
yeah, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats.
Okay. Don't
And
worry about going back to the boxes because I
okay,
used the information in the boxes
or
to,
okay.
to create the last two pages. I am so sorry. Um,
So, so you're saying that everything on those first two pages is incorporated in these last two pages,
yes.
right?
So
Okay. That's
what I
fine.
did was I
So,
went through those
okay.
boxes and then
So then
and
my next question is, when you're saying, are we looking at the Hall of Fame and the missing honoree quilts
mhm.
as the weakness, and the one thing is the strength is the inductees? Are you asking for more input into that particular item,
So
the inductees?
so one of the things that you have acknowledged that you're missing honorary quilts and objects and evidence of work,
Mhm.
and
Um,
that kind of think about your mission and the parts of your mission that have to do with collecting the honorees work.
Mhm.
So in
One thing that I thought of is, as far as I know, when we induct a new honoree,
mhm.
we should probably have a list of expectations for them. We're inducting you into the Hall of Fame, and we expect you to donate samples of your work for our collection. And I know we usually ask them to do some kind of presentation during celebration. It's often autobiographical, but you call somebody up and tell them they're in the Quilters Hall of Fame, but we've always expected things from them, but I don't think we've ever really written down any guidelines from what our expectations are or what they should be. Um,
So when we say here we're missing, I kind of thought we lost them or something.
Oh,
No, we never got them in the first
We
place.
never asked for it.
Yes,
Okay.
I don't think
always in our collection.
We've
I don't-
implied it, but I don't think we've been specific about it.
Okay.
Yeah,
Right.
application I don't think is
Yeah.
sufficient. I think we ought to
Yeah.
brainstorm about if somebody's being inducted into the Hall of Fame, then we need to have examples of their work, whether it's, if it's a historian, it could be written work, research, whatever, if it's a actual quilter, that type of thing. And tell them when they're inducted that we need examples of their work for our collection so that we can exhibit their work and honor their work and that sort of thing. And it probably ought to be written down.
And
Yes.
honorees may not understand that that's the only thing we do collect for permanent collection
Yeah,
is honorees work.
yeah,
or
yeah. That's a
memorabilia.
good point.
That's important. I didn't know that.
See, I'm thinking that would make it seem even more privileged that they would contribute to it because it's very restricted.
You can always sort of say it in a way that it's not like you're demanding.
Right.
Right.
There's a tactful way to do it.
But
There it is.
nice to
We want to honor you.
sure
Yeah.
Mhm.
your legacy or
Legacy.
What's your
yeah.
name?
Yes.
Honoring your legacy. That's
Right.
exactly what
Yeah.
it
And
is.
it's like we don't tell them what they are expected to give us, but we need examples of your work. You choose what you think is important for us to have in our
and
collection
preserve, yeah.
and preserve it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then,
Yeah, maybe,
research.
asking them, would they consider, endowing us with something at a future date if they
Yeah.
don't want to do it now.
Right.
yeah,
Right.
but there are a few that we've talked to and, tried to, but it always gets put off and, it never happens. So you get tired, I get tired of
Well, that's
reminding them and
why I think,
bringing it up.
I'm going to
That's
partner
collection.
with Anna
Yes.
and get that because my eyes have been opened just from this exhibit we have going on right now that we don't have something to represent all of our honorees. And I think at least the living ones still need to know, but I think even those who are in charge of some that have even passed, perhaps there's, family members or people who are in charge,
You know,
care for their quilts.
and we've never really had a really active collection committee. We've had people up there.
Well, up until recently.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
So that, and especially in the beginning, we just didn't really have
It
a
was
lot of anything.
catch.
Yeah. That can be pursued better.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And if you guys are gonna draft a letter
Mhm.
to people that are already honorees, you could say, we were, the collections committee has been working and we discovered that we don't have this. And
We have nothing to represent
we
you
don't
by.
have, we
Yeah.
don't have something to represent you in our collections. And
Right.
this is something that,
Well,
and be nice about it, not,
Dr. Musume,
well,
last time we met,
Mhm.
indicated that she didn't realize.
She didn't realize it.
Yeah.
So I'm
You're
like,
kinda going,
well, that's what I'm saying. I
How
don't
could
think
that
we
be?
we have to make it more
Well,
clear.
we've
yeah.
never really articulated that to the honorees.
yeah,
I think when Hazel started this group, she probably just asked them because she knew them all
Right.
personally,
yeah.
the ones that were living. And
Where did she keep things that she collected?
But I think,
So,
and it's not this thing about,
well, she
can't think of her name
didn't.
now. When Dr. Musume said, well, we turned down something from,
Question.
Question.
yes, I think that was the problem. So
Oh,
we didn't
right.
have any
Have a
place.
place.
Yeah, because
All
when
right.
Kristen was in
Uh-huh.
we didn't have
So,
the
That
other-
was, it was before.
yeah.
I'm going to interrupt the conversation.
Sorry.
I've been,
Sorry.
oh, no, this has
We're
been
on a
good.
tangent.
I've been capturing what you've been saying. So when you look, so I'm gonna move back out to a broader view. So engagement. Maybe that becomes one of your objectives.
Right.
Okay. And it would be a full sentence, but it would have to do with maybe strengthening engagement. if you look at what you talked about or what you identified at the last meeting and outreach, partnerships, and Hall of Fame, maybe those could be strategies, things that you look at, and again, full sentences and things, but those are things that maybe you think about making into strategies that move you towards strengthening engagement. And then actions, you've already identified some of those with the Hall of Fame. So you need to contact honorees for objects. You need to have clearer communications. Um, maybe it is both more and clearer and clear communications, and develop a clear list of expectations. So those are actions that you could take to get to that leveraging the Hall of Fame. Okay, we're not going to talk about measurement and things right now. That will be later. How you're going to measure success and how you're going to put, in some cases, numbers with things. But then also, as you were talking, and if you look on page 4, um, under collections, like if collections is going to be one of your larger objectives, um, there are a couple of things that you mentioned. Somebody said maybe we should have a collections committee. And then in your discussion about Hazel, you were like, where did she put stuff? So maybe one of the things is to have as an action to move you toward improved collections work or improving your collections. That objective is to research the collecting history, to have somebody who loves going through things and pulls out or finds mentions of when an honoree's objects were collected or something like that. Also, it is not unusual for an organization that a lot of organizations start out as all volunteer and transition to small staff, staff of one, and still having a lot of volunteers. It is not unusual for an organization to lose track of its organizational history or to just start saying, we do it that way. And so we're going to keep doing it that way. And very often it's not until they go through a process like this that they start saying, oh, okay, we need to do more of this. So one of the things too that you may find is when you're looking at engagement, because so much of your engagement has to do with collections, you may actually find a lot of overlap in engagement and collections. So some of the things that you identify as actions in your strategic plan for, say, collections may actually help you do some things in your engagement objective. So for folks who like hard and fast compartmentalization, I'm going to apologize in advance. Compartmentalization will happen early or later. This first bit can look a little messy. So if it starts looking messy, just pull out your timeline and start checking stuff off. Give yourself a reward. All right. So when you are looking at something like the Hall of Fame, and let's just say that there is that is going to be a strategy, improving the Hall of Fame, filling gaps in the Hall of Fame, promoting the Hall of Fame, whatever that strategy is, how could you leverage improving Hall of Fame collecting to improve your outreach? So, for example, this came up. Confused with other Hall of Fame museums. You identified that as a weakness. What are some things when you look at your strengths in the engagement? And remember, those are the things that are not highlighted in yellow. What are some of the things in your strengths and opportunities that can help you not be confused with other Hall of Fame museums?
Increased online presence, maybe.
Okay.
Because I think it's a matter of communicating and differentiating ourselves and reaching everybody, reaching the groups that count
Okay.
personally.
So,
And online is one way to do it.
Mhm.
It's about the animal.
Yep.
Well, and we do have our website, but I think there's other social media that we don't use that we really need to reach out to.
And I'm sure that the fact that we always include the Quilters Hall of Fame in our formal title, I think it's still important to maintain that. But I know some people look at us, where does, why the? Well, it's because we are the only actual.
Right, exactly.
And I mean, that has given me opportunity to explain that. And I don't know if, we don't use the word international much, but we are international.
Exactly, but we only have two British, this bothers me. Our only international honorees are two British quilters that were inducted years ago. And we have to figure out a way to let people, there are many worthy quilters in Europe and Japan and Australia but I don't think those people are aware that they're eligible. How do you nominate somebody? Somehow, and you said earlier, and maybe I misunderstood this, but how can we use the present honorees to help with that sort of thing? Well, they can talk that sort of thing up as they're out in the quilt world. I also feel like we don't have enough quilters of color, quilters of there are some prolific American Indian quilters, and I'm sure they have no idea that this exists, or somebody that knows them would know to nominate them for an award like being inducted into the Hall of Fame. And we need to figure out ways to get the word out to places where it's going to be harder than just when we started out, we were putting articles in quilt magazines and that sort of thing. But you think about who reads those publications.
And there's a lot fewer of them now.
Yes, and but also who's looking at our postings on social media. And it's probably not people in Japan. I mean, how can we?
Well, I think we
Also
need to know
the-
more about the other countries and what they do. I mean,
You're exactly right.
there are quilt shows on the level of Houston and various
Yes,
other
there are.
countries that if we knew about, had relationships with, and had a presence,
We
that
can
would
promote
communicate.
ourselves.
Yeah, that would communicate what we are and how you can get in.
You're right.
Years ago, we had the article in the Japanese
Yeah,
magazine.
yeah.
How in the world did we get in that?
And in that French one.
Oh,
yeah, the
because
first one as well.
because Rosalind had been to Japan. She took Marie's
Sure.
quilts to Japan.
That's
That's how we got that.
In there.
And the quilts, the Quilt Mania woman, I don't know how I think she may have met Zania. But
Doctor,
we had a whole
Doctor-
year of issues of Quilt Mania that were related to Indiana and the Quilters Hall of Fame.
so Dr. Dickerson, you had started to say
She
something.
started to say
I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
the imaging is not very strong. the colors are not very strong for modern quilters. The logo doesn't say much in terms
I know.
of
Yeah,
I
interesting.
just
what
think
it stands for. I think right now when we look at things, even those of us who are older, we're so used to quickly looking at an image and equating it with something very quickly, and it just doesn't equate to a really
that's branding.
strong image, a memorable image for um, everyone. It's definitely not an inclusive um, image for everyone. And I think that's something that other um, future Hall of Famers would be looking at also. Like, is this something that is it really inclusive? Do you really want my kinds of
Mhm.
quilts in there?
Mhm.
Um,
Just gonna
and
stop.
so that's
Agree.
something that does have to be addressed because I just went to the website and even the uh, what freedom means to me, it doesn't pop off the page. It's not very bright. It's not so those kinds of things I think people are looking for.
That's what hers is
And
like.
I'm definitely going to enter a quilt in that because I think it's very
Good.
interesting. But
Wonderful.
I think we could reach more people if we thought about that branding. And I think that branding then will stand out uh, where people wouldn't have to like what makes this the Quilters Hall of Fame stand out from other Hall of Fames
Yeah.
because people need to see it quickly and know, oh, that's the Quilters Hall of Fame.
Exactly.
You know, we just hired a new replacement for our part-time help. And this gal is really very good at, and she already noticed that the logo, especially if you're looking at it on your phone, and most young people are looking at their sites on their phone, that
Yep,
makes our logo almost invisible.
yep.
And so she already noted that we've got to make that a stronger presence
She
on our
was
website.
she was working on some graphics for the upcoming Ricky Tim's workshops, and she's 24, 25, recent college graduate. One of her degrees was in graphic illustration, and she said, you're nice, the Q and a feathered star logo, that's a nice logo, but she said that doesn't show up on social media well at all. She said, we really need to have something that it's exactly what you said, something that grabs your attention, that people recognize it immediately. And I feel like our website was designed, and it's designed on a template, which means there's not a lot you can change about it. And it looks really dated and it's
Mhm.
hard to navigate. And we need to talk about finding a website designer to do us a new website that looks contemporary. And if you need something, this is the explanation, and you push a button and you get there. Because right now, that's ours does not
On the
work like
phone,
that
does not
at
work.
all.
Yeah.
There's no flow.
So a lot of times now, if people have to click more than twice,
Mm-hmm.
They won't.
Yeah.
They won't.
they
Or
won't.
yeah, if they have to
Um,
scroll through a lot to find where to click to the
Yes.
thing they're looking
I'll
for.
get out of the website in 2 seconds when it's like it's too much work.
And I think
And
young
that
people are even
Worse than us. Yeah.
and that making your website mobile friendly is really important
Yep.
because if I'm driving somewhere, okay, let's just say I am driving into Grant County and somebody in the car with me says, "What's there to do?"
Mhm.
I want to find what there is to do and then, like visit Grand Cat or something like that. But then once I click on a particular attraction site, I'm making a snap decision.
Mhm.
Am I going to go there? And honestly, for a lot of folks, if it is easy to navigate your website, you you may get visitors that you wouldn't expect. If your website is hard to navigate, people may actually say, well, if they can't, if the website is this way, do I want to go there?
Right,
Because whether it's true or not,
right.
people will say this is a boring website. Will the organization be boring? So there is a lot to look at in terms of what you're doing. The other thing is, um, I would say when you are talking, if you were talking about changing your logo, one of the things perhaps to think about steering away from is anything that has to do with your building.
Mm-hmm.
I totally agree.
Because what is important about your building is not how it looks. What is important about your building is that it was Marie Webster's home and it has then given you a home. Um, I'm going to use IHS as an example. Our original logo, when we moved into the building where we are now, there is, and I can see it outside of my window, there is a cupola thing. And that cupola used to be our logo. When I started working here, I actually asked somebody if that cupola was historic, if it came from another building. And they said, nope.
Yeah.
And I
Mhm.
said, well, why is it I actually asked, so why is it the logo? And they were like, because it's readily identifiable on the building. But you have to be looking at the building from the right angle and the right height to notice the cupola. So when we rebranded, we actually don't have an image with our logo. It is words. We do history, Indiana Historical Society. It is a particular font we use, and we use it on everything. The color is bright blue. But in part, one of the reasons the decision was made not to use a specific image is because we're the Indiana Historical Society. And so not wanting to pick an image, because, you know, Indiana is a long state. It's a big state. So, what are we going to pick? Before I came to the Indiana Historical Society, when I was working at the Montgomery County Historical Society, and we were looking at our logo for the first time in years, because the logo was actually something that was on the front door, and it had some tie to Masons. Um, which was very confusing for folks. Um, because it was a house museum, a historic house museum that had nothing to do with Masons. There were a list of things. I worked with a graphic designer and said, here are the things we don't want. We don't want a log cabin. We don't want a canoe. We don't want, so to help set us apart. So that is something to think about also is looking at other quilt museums and seeing what their logos are and saying, maybe not this, because that helps
You,
differentiate.
you brought up something really interesting, and you can't change the fact that you're in a little small town. That can't
Right.
be changed. However, I lived in Kansas City, Missouri, and I purposefully drove to Hamilton to visit Missouri Star Quilting. Missouri Star Quilting is 2 blocks long. That's it.
Mhm.
We know.
But it's a go-to place. It's someplace you
Mhm.
want to go. I
Mhm.
think connecting with other businesses, because here's the other thing. There's only so much fabric I was going to buy. But that chicken pot pie in that restaurant on the corner was also a reason to go to Hamilton, and I knew that we could shop a little bit. We could go grab good drinks and a nice pot pie at the local restaurant. And so making it this is part of the reason to visit here because you can do this, this, and this. Um, and making sure that a calendar of events is available on that website so that when we stop, It's a reason to go. It's a reason to stop. And I think that engagement piece has to show those partnerships and what's going on very quickly because, you know, Jenny Doan gets a lot of credit, but she had to work with other people because once you've done and spent the money you're going to spend on the fabric, okay, you can get in your car and go home. But there were other little things to do, and
Mhm.
that made it a must
Makes it
stop
good to drive.
place
Yep.
too.
Yeah.
Good point.
And that's
Yeah.
where our partnership with the city needs to
Mhm.
be built. We said that was a strength, and I think it's needs to grow from that. But we have a nice start with that.
Well, you know, we do have, and we kind of promote it when people come in as the hostess house in the park. Because during the summer, the park's quiet.
Yeah, it's a beautiful park.
Maybe,
And at Christmas time.
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
But I think Missouri Star is also another example of promotion. I mean, she has been out
really
there
good
in the
with-
world from the
Yes.
beginning.
well, I think the main
strength
thing
of
that
communication.
her, for years, she was doing a quilt video on YouTube every Friday. And that brought hordes of people to Hamilton. We do have content on YouTube, but maybe we could make an effort to
Put a little more out there.
put a little more out there. Yeah.
Especially,
But her key was short and sweet
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
because there were too many people to pick from. 3-minute videos, 5-minute videos at the longest. That was why I learned how to quilt through her. It's because she got in and got out. You know,
Right, to the point.
even if you
Yep.
did an
You're right.
update of what's going on and saying hi to the community and this is what's going on, make us blasted on our Facebook pages and things like that. I think that's going to go a long way too. Even little spotlights on who's in the Hall of Fame, because you never know
Right.
who's doing
Yeah.
research out there on certain people, and to say, hey, not only here's a spotlight, but Missouri Quilters Hall of Fame has a quilt by such and such, you know, would go a long way too.
So,
change exhibits.
and
Yeah.
if you do decide to do some things, some videos and things, Jeanette, who is in local history services, and I can talk to you about that. If you go online, and if you Google timely tips, you will most likely see what local history services did. We did 2 series of timely tips. One has to do with collection stewardship and one has to do with organizational management. We did research. Folks will watch 3 to 5 minutes of video, and they will happily watch 3 to 5. 5 is kind of getting on the long end. We looked and we said, when we get feedback on our trainings and workshops and things, particularly if we are doing them paired in the department, people would say one of the things we like is the sense of humor, the interplay between people in the department, and they kept saying, you know, you make us, we feel like we are part of your team. And so we looked at our YouTube videos and we said we're going to lean into the fact that people, one of the things people appreciate about our workshops is that they are humorous and fun. So if you look at timely tips, they are short, they are kitschy, they are the information is serious and good, and you know, ethics standards, best practice, all of that, but they are not, there isn't one of us sitting at a desk saying, so short, midterm, long-term storage, here's what it is. And from a from a PowerPoint presentation. So one of the things to do when you're thinking about these outreach strategies is, who are your audiences? What do they like? and what do they respond well to? Dr. Dickerson is like, I learned to quilt from these short videos. You know, you can give that a shot. And actually,
And that little duck, quack, that little quacking duck sticks in your head.
Yeah.
Yes,
am
it
gonna-
does, exactly.
yeah,
I guess I
pick,
haven't watched.
That's their little moving cartoon
Oh,
duck on their YouTubes.
okay.
yeah, pick something that can be your thing, you know? Now I will say we had so much fun making our Timely Tips videos. We laughed until we cried, went home and thought, man, that was the best core workout I've ever had, laughing all day. Um, so if you look at a Timely Tips, what you see is sort of how how we are. So it's authentic. And that is something we hear from people. It is you. It is local history services in the way you interact with each other, in the way you interact with us. And we leaned into that. We identified something that felt very comfortable for us, that felt very authentic for us, but was also something that folks had said, this is what we expect and what we like about it. Um, so those are some things to think about when you're looking at increasing your engagement and you're looking at these actions. Be true to yourselves as an organization, um, and also your audience. Um, but yes, one of the things that when we were talking about Timely Tips, I said to at that point Jeanette and Karen is I would sort of rather poke myself repeatedly with a sharp stick than watch even 5 minutes of somebody staring into a camera
Yeah.
Mhm.
and bullet pointing me into oblivion. Like I would just be like bonk, bonk, bonk. Um, so you are coming up with some really good ideas and things in this discussion. Um, And I just feel like I'm taking notes for y'all and you're clearly doing the heavy lifting. You know, you're going in the right direction with this. So in terms of this engagement, are there other things you want to talk about or other things you want to be noted?
Oh, I had checked with the homework thing, I had checked the lack of financial flow
Yeah.
funding.
Yeah. It's pretty basic.
That has the fewest items, but it's
It
one of the
does.
biggest problems.
Yeah, because we needed to do a website. We needed
Yeah.
to do all of these things.
We're talking
Yeah.
about that.
It's a vicious
How much
cycle.
does it cost to have some website for you?
Yeah.
Well, and I was just thinking, we've only ever had one employee. And a lot of the things that we're lacking are because we've relied on volunteers to do everything else. And volunteers that didn't know how to do a lot of the things that need to be done because they're willing to volunteer, but they've never worked for a museum before. It's like I feel like when we do exhibits, we need a lot more, we do signage, but I think like if you go to the Indiana State Museum or they have other things that make you engage with the exhibit. It takes a curator that has the time they do that. I mean, Deb can't do that. She's doing everything else. And we've never had that person, and a volunteer doesn't know how to do that.
And the other thing too is we're always worried about how much money we're spending. But sometimes you have to spend
Spend
to
it to
make
get it.
money.
True.
But then, you can't spend it if you don't have it.
There's that.
Can't
There'll
be
be always-
irresponsible.
No.
Well, on the list, we have, I think we said diversifying income streams as a strength. And we do get income from a variety sources, as I recall. I thought I had the document with me, but I don't. But Deb shared with me, well, and Regina, you would know because you keep all of the books, the different sources of revenue streams that have come through. And I would think that a mitigating thing here would be to take a look at that list and see how we can expand it or strengthen it. For example, membership dues is one of them, and I've always felt like we need to
we
get
need to
more
push it.
members. Yeah, that we depend on members for our
But
income.
But here's the thing, maybe if we had more appeal.
Yes,
Yeah.
Even,
and it's not easy to sign up for a membership on our website.
right.
Yeah,
It's
difficult.
very counterintuitive.
yeah.
You need to be able to say, I want to be a member at this level and push button and pay for it and be done.
But it's not that
And
easy.
that's not that easy. It goes to another page and maybe it goes to 2 other pages. And it's exactly what she was talking about, that if you can't get in and out in a click or two, you just say to heck with it.
This is the other thing I think on memberships that we have a problem with, and that is, I know Jean Chambers said that we had like 400 members when she was down here. She twisted everybody's arm and whatever.
Yeah, she made them join.
And now we're not. I mean, and we had it in other areas because Hazel promoted it, other areas promoted it. And through the different people we've had as administrators, some of them didn't see the importance when somebody's membership is about time to run out. You have to remind these people or they don't renew. And that was neglected for a lot of years.
Yeah.
And so therefore our membership has fallen off. It's a shame for the type of organization we are that we don't have, barely 200 members.
There
We
are
have
thousands and thousands of quilters. I mean, you can join for
Mhm.
$25. Most people couldn't afford that.
Yeah, but I think,
Yeah, but
there's
see-
so many opportunities out there to join. I
That's-
keep telling
that's
myself,
true.
Barb, don't join another thing.
Yeah,
And this is one that if you don't live here, you're not able to use. So we need to build
that's
the
true.
ability to use it from other places.
You're right.
That's a good
We
idea.
have a reason to support it.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean, that's right. Membership is not just being a member, it's helping support.
right,
Yeah.
right.
Yes.
And telling
So-
the story about why,
Yeah.
why you should be a member and what's gonna benefit you. Someone started to speak up. Was that you,
Tamara.
Dr. Emerson, or?
So, one of the things that helps organizations with members is organizations very often, most organizations or a lot of organizations have a membership program. A lot of times those members never come through their doors. Those members are in fact, they function more like donors. But it is interesting because if you start it for some organizations, when they will say, so we'll shift from having a membership program to having just donors, they see people fall off because I think sometimes people see it differently.
Mhm.
So one of the things to think about when you are, and it was, and I didn't catch who said it, but it is engaging members in storytelling. Give your members a reason to feel engaged, to feel a part of you. Maybe that is, and also looking at those members who are never going to come to Indiana, or the likelihood of them coming to Indiana is pretty small. That's where your social media comes from.
Mhm.
And social media should actually be, it's in the name, social. So it should be, 85 to 90% social media, 10 to 15% letting people know about activities you're doing. So marketing, but it should be heavy on social media. There was a museum it's in the UK. It's the Museum of English Rural Life. And Um, for a long time, their social media posts were hilarious. So it was like we were looking around the museum or we were walking around and our ducks were doing crazy things today. So they took a picture of a duck being odd, like literally an odd duck. And so they posted that picture and then they said, do any of you guys have ducks doing weird stuff in your museums? And they got so much engagement from people taking a picture of a duck in the background of like an oil painting being not like a duck. And then they would lean into things like that. They would say, so we have this sheep and her name is whatever her name was. And here's what she likes. And it's like, do you have things in your museum that have odd likes? Or do you have people? Or do you have. So they really went at engagement that way. And I have colleagues who actually became members of the Museum of English Rural Life, who were never going to visit this museum in the UK, but were like, they are so clever. That is so fun, and things like that. So thinking about your social media, and I know I keep talking about fun and things, but meaningful, intentional social media use. It doesn't always have to be fun, or witty or clever. It can be, you know, here's a role quilts play in building community, things like that. Um, so then, you know, you'd say, if you want to see more, come to our website. And then right on the front page, have a button that's like, do you want to become a member? Help support our work by becoming a member or something like that right there on your landing page. But really, you have an international audience. And so in your engagement, outreach strategy, maybe one of the things you want to focus on is having that part focus a lot on that international audience, that audience outside of Indiana, outside of Grant County. And then you look at kind of that partnership area, and maybe for a bit, you really, to get your local support in there, really lean into or really focus on connecting with other businesses, getting your mayor to love you even more than he already does.
There was something else that you brought up that about being inclusive, and how
Tony, can you talk towards your computer or device?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I was looking at my
you.
notes. Quilt Folk is expensive. It's an expensive magazine, but the reason why Quilt Folk, the reason why I buy it is because there hasn't been an issue as of late that I don't know one of those quilters. And not many of us are going to become Hall of Famers. But because they take a regional approach and they look at many quilters around that state, what if you focused on where Carol Maslumi is from, featuring her quilts, and then you could ask other quilters from that same place to talk about their quilting, and where they're from, and then that way you are bringing in, if she's in Chicago, you're bringing in Illinois quilters and spotlighting them because of the fact that you want to be inclusive, you want to look at the totality of the country and the everywhere. But the reason why I keep renewing my subscription is because I figure, hey, one day when they come to Indiana, I might be featured in Quilt Folk because I know a whole lot of quilters, that are featured in Quilt Folk from their area. And so they keep me buying that magazine because there's hope that I might be, and so everyone might be a Hall of Famer one day. And that's because, if you're from Michigan, look at the Hall of Famer from Michigan. Quilters from Michigan, show us your work. That's engagement too. So now people from Michigan can showcase, their work.
And who doesn't love?
Not
Okay.
top
This,
city.
Local History Services at the Indiana Historical Society administers the Indiana Historical Society Awards Program. So, towards the end of the year, we go into the awardees' communities and present the awards. In our magazine, In Perspective, in I think it was the January February issue, um, there were lots of pictures of me presenting awards. Okay. I get this text from my mom, who is a member at the IHS, that says, "Hey, I just got the Tamara Hemmerline magazine special." And I said, "What, Mom?" She goes, "In Perspective. It's so about Tamara. There's so many pictures of you." But that idea of saying, "Hey, I mean, my mom's known me my entire life. She knows lots about me." But it was so funny because there was a little bit of like, "That's awesome. My daughter's in a magazine." Like like that kind of thing. And I'm like, "Yeah, Mom, okay." But that idea, there is something about knowing somebody who is connected to a museum, who, who can say, "Hey, did you see? I know her. We were at a quilt group together. She presented my quilt group, and now she's featured on this museum's website for the month." Like there's something about it that's like it is sort of, I think, akin to sitting at the cool kids table.
Yeah.
I might have the opportunity to sit at the cool kids table because I stitched a quilt square next to one of the cool kids, all caps.
That's such a good illustration.
Oh, that's a great idea. Getting back to lack of financial flow. So we talked about membership, but there are others, and it almost seems like we can have a little small group to think of all the ideas that could go under each one: membership, gift shop, activities, presentations. I think of what's coming up tomorrow, the seminar. That was an idea birthed by one of our board members, put together in what, 3 months?
Yeah, that.
That 2 months or so, and already we made $2,000.
Wow.
So yeah. So I mean,
And you know what I like
ideas
about
to-
it? It's not here. It's
Right,
somewhere
exactly.
else in
It's in
Indiana.
Lebanon.
One of
It's
the
in
goals
Indiana.
was that it was
Or is it
somewhere else.
Indianapolis?
The second goal was that it didn't have to be done by the people here who are tired.
Well,
Yeah.
it's interesting, and I would have certainly helped to promote it because I just saw it yesterday for the
Oh,
first time.
goodness.
Yeah.
I didn't know you had it.
Yeah.
I'm like, what is this? I was just going. I was like, wow, it sounds fantastic.
I was telling her coming up, one of my good friends didn't know anything about it. I was, it's like we're failed. We have to have a plan. We have to have a good promotional plan for everything we do. That's one of the things that's an opportunity we could
Yeah.
Yeah. I
really.
didn't know about it until it was late. I mean, I've known about it for maybe 2 weeks, 3 weeks.
Did you learn about it?
I really don't remember.
This
Oh, there was something downstairs on the desk. There was
Oh.
a flyer on the desk.
I've known about it because I heard Barb talking about it,
Yeah.
and then Deb asked me if I could help. I can't go.
I can't do it because I've got.
Yeah, I get something else, but
But I'm so proud of you for initiating that.
But there are things like that that doesn't take. I won't say it doesn't take a lot of work, but
it's not like celebration.
it's also a way to
That's
get her
a whole
name out
different
there.
deal.
Try to get more people. The fact
Right.
that it can be done by Zoom.
Yeah.
So I was thinking that if we had a little small group to look at our current revenue streams and just look at what we can do to maximize each one of those and to bring it to would that be outside of the process, Tamara, to have a little small group do that?
Absolutely not. As a matter of fact,
No.
Anita, it is like I was like, all right, help me seg into the next thing we're gonna do.
Okay.
So one of the things looking at all of this, and I have been furiously taking notes, you would probably be appalled at what I've written, and it's like the spread of things that I have in front of me. So one of the things that I am going to suggest is that I did send you a strategic planning objective worksheet that was a blank worksheet, and I sent you an example strategic planning worksheet, and I randomly picked um, one of the categories um, and put some things together, put this example together without your input. What I will do, because and let me know actually, let me know if this will be helpful. What I will do and get to Deb by Friday of next week is I will take one of the areas that we have talked about today. So engagement, we've talked a lot about. Funding, we've talked a lot about. I have put some notes in some other areas, but we haven't really focused a lot on those areas. So what I would like to do, if it would be helpful for you, is for me to take either engagement or funding as an objective and using the input from today, the discussions from today, and put together a draft strategic plan objective. Would that be helpful for you?
Yes, it would.
Yeah.
Right.
That would be.
Okay. Because I have broken things down kind of objective, strategy, and then actions. Um, and anything I do like this, it is completely a draft. It is suggestions. It is not something that you have to do, but it may help taking your actual discussion and putting them into the worksheet, kind of help you see how to move forward with other things. So, which one would you like me to take a crack at, engagement or funding?
They're both really important,
Yeah,
but
they are.
how about funding?
All right.
I vote, I think the majority of people sitting here at this table say funding.
All right.
Engagement is super important too. What are your thoughts on that, Dr. Carol and Dr. Dickinson?
Carol left.
Oh, Carol left?
Oh, yeah, she did.
Okay.
She was driving.
She drove off.
Oh, that's right.
I'm in agreement.
Okay.
You all have lived with this and sat, in a lot of things a lot longer than me. I think you would know which one is, kind of the tipping point. Although I'm going to tell you right now,
Yeah,
after I
well, we
looked
need
at
the
that
financial
timely
to be able to
tip,
do the other.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of things we can't proceed with if we don't get the finances in order.
Mhm.
Okay.
I
So
just saw that timely tips. They're funny.
they are, they are, but one of the things that colleagues have said to us is that they've used them with volunteer training because they're short and but the information is good, but also, yeah, they're funny. Um, I mean, you always, when you're creating something that you hope is funny, you always hope it doesn't fall flat and you don't see somebody and they go, wow, what were you thinking? Um, so I will do a strategic plan objective worksheet um, around funding. And I will send that to Deb by Friday of next week, along with my notes about the discussion. I will do kind of what I did is kind of look at my notes, look at what we've done here, and kind of refine it a little bit and do some things like that. Get all those to Deb. What would be helpful for the next meeting then, which is May 8th, is for all of you to think about, um, take that sample or the template, the strategic plan objective template, and see if you can do something with engagement. And if you'd like to do that individually, that's fine. If you'd like to work in groups, that's fine. This is your homework to look at the timeline, to look at engagement, and um, we can go through those at the next meeting. And hopefully at the end of next meeting, you'll end up with a couple of pretty good drafts for strategic objectives. Um, if you would like, if you are working on that objective worksheet and you want to send it to me ahead of time, that's fine. There is no expectation that on May 8th, you go into this cold sharing your worksheet. If you would like me to take a look at it and give some input, I am happy to do that.
Like to throw in that the two of us will not be here on May 8th.
Yeah.
We'll be out of town.
Would it,
Are you going?
No,
Quilt retreat.
Oh, nice.
Our annual quilt
Yeah.
retreat in Shipshawana.
oh, I
Yeah.
actually, I have
Your
my
home.
sister and my mom would love to go to Shipshawana. I've gone there in a work capacity, but I've never gone there as just Tamara.
No.
But
Yeah. It's
We
worth
could have
it.
one of our meetings there. And then you wouldn't get to experience Shipshawana.
So here is something that saying
Not doing
my
it.
mom made me think of this. I am not a quilter. My grandmother was. My mom and grandma were and are excellent seamstresses. But one of the things that I used to love to do at my grandma's house and my mom's house, um, was playing with their stashes and just experimenting with colors and putting colors next to each other. Or like my grandma, one of the ways my mom learned to sew and I learned to sew is my grandma gave me quilt scraps, like fabric scraps, and her button box, taught me how to thread a needle and thread, and then I made designs on quilt scraps with buttons and I sewed them on. So I learned how to do buttons, but I also learned some things about design and things. I'm just throwing that out there that might be there might be a version of that you could do when you are tabling places. That encourages people, because of also a lot of times things that very often in museums we're like, oh, that's a kids program. Adults will say, I wish I had that opportunity. So just different things like that. And when you are going out and you are at these events or these places and you're talking about the Quilters Hall of Fame, what is something that you can have with you that engages people, that makes them want to stop? um, you know, and not necessarily stand there and make designs out of buttons and sew them on scraps, but maybe that element of playing with somebody's stash, like, that kind of like, ooh, this is something kind of fun, and playing with color and different things like that. That has nothing to do with strategic planning, but you'll hear folks say core memory unlocked. That unlocked a core memory for me of playing with the fabric stashes and the button boxes when I
So
was little.
connection.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's that connection.
Yeah.
And And my grandma was relatively frugal. So very often I probably learned how to use a seam ripper by taking my creations apart to be able to do them again another day. I learned patience and
Recycle.
perseverance and seam ripping. So your homework, my homework is to do use funding and do a draft strategic plan objective for you to compile these notes into something that makes more sense. And your homework is to look at the timeline and also take a crack at creating an objective with strategies and actions for something about engagement. Pick something that speaks to you in that engagement. And we will miss you, and I am sure that you will miss strategic planning.
Okay.
Yeah.
I am sure that every
We
minute
will.
at the quilt retreat, you will
You'll
think,
get filled
man,
in.
if only I were putting together a strategic objective right now.
So Regina, can I request that you do a little homework since you're not gonna be home? Could you give us like breakdowns of our revenue streams? Like within the next couple of years?
Yeah.
So before you start packing, get that done.
And if you don't mind sharing that with me, that might help me as well.
Okay, that's fine.
And
we could request that
everything
the same meeting.
everything we're doing is confidential. So
I wanted to bring it today, but.
all right. Other questions before we head off to our various and sundry tasks?
No, I just appreciate all of your work on this, Tamara, and we would be mired down in all the stories and
Yep.
the little
Yep.
minutia of things without you kind of pushing us back to the task at hand.
Also knowing what to look at.
Yeah.
is really helpful.
It is.
Your guidance is golden.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you very much. If it ever becomes something that's not working for you, please let me know. I can switch gears in midstream. I'm a duck that paddles so good. So thank you very much. As with our other meetings, I am going into my weekend with a smile. So thank you very much, and thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Have
you,
a
guys.
good weekend.
Thank
You
you.
too.
Have a good
Bye.
weekend.
Bye.
I'll see some of you on Saturday.
Yeah, see you Saturday. Looking forward to it.
Fantastic.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
So she's gonna be in this thing.
She's a presenter.
Oh, I saw that. That's right. I did see her name.
Presenter, and
I
she's
forgot that.
bringing. She did a scholarship for two of her.
I was just startled when I saw